Hello everybody, it is Jamie, and it's the first weekend in August, and I haven't gone live with the bees for a while, but I am going to do a honey check. It's the first weekend in August here in Asheville, so a lot of the honey season is winding down as we go into the start of the summer, so basically I need to see if there's honey to harvest or if there's just enough that I need to leave for the bees for over the winter. So I'm going to go into the hives and see. I put queen excluders in 2 of the hives with small honey supers on top. So if those are full, then there actually may be honey to harvest this year. If not, then we're probably getting to the point where I'll just take the queen excluders out and leave whatever honey is there for the bees. So I'm going to go ahead and get in. I've been working on getting my smoker going, so we're ready for that. The hives seem pretty active. Especially this first one we're going to go in, which does have a queen excluder. So I'm curious to see what things look like on the inside there. So get my gloves on and let's get going. Give us a good view there. Just a little bit of smoke, get things ready. You notice that I'm purposely approaching the hives from the backside because I don't want to be between the bees and the entrance of the hive. So take the lid off. Even though I have a queen excluder, I still want to just do a quick check, make sure that I don't have any queen in here. Some kind of crazy spider there. Get rid of him. All right, lots of activity here on the top. A little smoke. Lots going on right there. These hives do have marked queens, so that certainly helps when I'm trying to identify them. All right. I'm looking for my hive hanger. Now that I'm in, just give a little bit more smoke. So this hive is set up with a deep box, a medium box, and there's a queen excluder, and then this small top box, which hopefully is just nothing but honey. Take this out nice and gently. All right, well, so this first frame has basically no capped honey on it. It's actually kind of empty. Looks like there's some nectar in it, but not too much, nothing for us to take there. So this one is a little different. You can see here, there's probably about 80% of that frame is capped honey. On the back side, it's definitely much less. Really, you want this to be nearly 100% capped before you're gonna try to take any honey away. So this one again, same sort of thing. Definitely some capped honey, maybe 85%. 85% maybe on that side, but definitely not full. The bees are very calm though. They're really tolerating my presence just fine. This one feels heavier. Yeah, I would say this one, this is probably like 90%, maybe even 95%. But on the back side, definitely they've got more room. So I don't think that one's ready yet. This one is much more. This is nearly 100% full of capped honey. I mean, there's just a few cells on the edge, but this one, and that's kind of on both sides. So that's probably one frame of honey that I could potentially harvest. This one is more like the first few. This side is probably 90%. Probably both sides of that, maybe 85, 90%. But I don't think I would take that one. a similar finding, probably 90%, 85–90% on that side, 90% on that side. Because I have the queen excluder, all that I'm going to find in this box is honey, because the queen can't get up to the top level to lay eggs. So the bees will preferentially store honey on this top frame to save the room in the bottom two boxes for baby bees. This one looks like it's nearly 100% capped on one side. On this side, it's probably more like 85%. And you can see on the frames that aren't capped though, they're pretty full of nectar. So that just has to be basically dehydrated, and that will become the honey, and they won't cap it until it's ready. But you don't really want to extract it and mix nectar with honey. So that's 8 frames. There's 2 more left, but since I know there's really not really technically 1 frame may be harvestable, this hive is not ready for me to collect any honey from. So I'm gonna have to decide, do I give them another week or 2 and then check again, or just say they're probably not gonna make enough honey to fill this up, so I'll just leave the honey for them for the winter. So I'm just gonna put this box back together. Okay, so that hive, which is probably my most active one, there may be one frame that I could actually harvest, and the other ones are probably 80 to 90%. The other reason that time, getting close to time to do mite checks, and if you find that you have a high mite count, and once you treat your hives for mites, you don't want to harvest that honey. It's okay for the bees to use it, but you wouldn't want to use that for human consumption after you've treated. So that becomes another deciding factor. So I'm going to take a look in my other hives, but again, this being the most active one, if any of the hives were ready to collect honey from, I would think it would be this one, but we'll check just to see. Now, I'm not going to bother going into the rest of the hive to look for queens or anything, because these hives are all very active, so I'm not worried that they're queenless or there's any other problems with them, unless I see something different when I go in. So I'm going to probably go through these next couple a little more quickly, but we'll see, just so that I can say I checked to make sure that I'm not surprised by anything. Now, only 2 of these hives had honey queen excluders on them, so the other 2 I probably couldn't take the honey even if I wanted to, because it probably is going to be mixed with eggs and larvae and stuff like that. And this one, yeah, this one does not have a queen excluder. This one I have to be a little bit more careful because there is not a queen excluder, so the queen could really be anywhere. So I want to make sure I don't lose her in just trying to check my hive. But same thing, lots of activity at the top, so I'll take that as a good sign. Now, admittedly, I'm not the best at identifying queens, but these queens should be marked, so unless something has happened and I've lost a queen, that definitely helps try to identify your queen. Give these guys a couple puffs. So yeah, lots of activity. Actually, let me look to make sure I don't see my queen up here. So this frame is mostly empty in terms of the comb. There's some nectar I can see right here, so it looks like the bees are using this primarily to store honey. This side is basically empty. So I'm guessing that, I mean, this hive is not going to be ready for me to collect any honey. We'll check just a couple frames to see. Same thing here. Couple cells that are capped, but otherwise this was comb that they were just building out. And it's not even completely built out on this side yet, so definitely that frame's not ready for anything. This one feels much heavier. Yeah. So interestingly, on this frame, this side is nearly 100% capped honey. The other side, maybe 10-15% capped, but the other cells seem very full of nectar, so getting close. So this was another new frame that the bees they're still building comb out on one side, and on the other side there's already a lot of capped honey. See, now this frame actually has bee brood on it, which is, yeah, and there's larvae, some pollen. I don't see a queen, but she could be here. You can see on this one, in the middle here, this is bee brood, and then right around it I can actually see bee larvae, and then there's honey around the side of it, which is a very typical pattern. I don't know that there's a lot of reason to check more, because I know I'm not going to be taking any honey out of this one. But I kind of just want to see how the other new frames that I put in were doing. This was a new frame. They're still building out the comb. Mostly just honey. Come on, girls. Watch out. I want to be careful when I'm putting the frames back in that I don't crush any bees between the frame and the hive box. So this was an older frame that was already built out. This is a very heavy frame. Whoa. Same pattern where there's baby bees, lots of larvae, honey on the periphery. Put this one back. So this was another new frame. Again, bees are still working on building out the comb on this one. Making sure I don't see a queen here. So these frames start off with just this sort of a wax sheet in the middle. That's called the foundation, but there's no comb on it. And you can see here, they're just starting to build out some comb. This side, they've built out some comb and they got honey here, but yet the comb, it's not even built out there yet. So still a lot of room for the bees to grow in this hive. This one is completely uncapped on one side, and then the other side is completely capped with honey. And then I can already see the last frame is still not really even built out with comb yet. I'm just going to slide these frames back together. You want to make sure you don't leave gaps between your frames, because the bees will build in those gaps and cause the frames to stick together, which makes it very hard to go and check them later without causing a lot of damage.